Tanche, this is Kalyn Kodiak coming to you from my office in Calgary, Alberta. I'm a Metis Sash weaver with the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3, and also a herbalist. Today I'm pleased to share with you some of the information about the Metis Sash, the purposes that we use it for, and the significance to the culture of the Métis people.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Kalyn Kodiak et je fais les ceintures fléchées au Festival du Sucre. Some people just come in and make a quick bracelet, but I love to talk about Métis culture and especially the meaning of the colors in the sashes and how that relates to history and what people are doing with those colors and histories today. I think it's a revival of Métis culture for the Métis people, and a lot of people who maybe are just finding out they're Métis when they're older or don't know how to pass that culture on to their children. If you find out you have some culture in your family that you can go back to, I found for myself it's a real blessing to have that. The ceinture fléchée is an item of pride for the Métis people. Our sashes tell the stories of our traditions, cultures, and our shared and intertwined histories. The arrowhead pattern is symbolic of the Métis people. There are variations in traditions and opinions pertaining to the patterns and colors of the sash. The meanings and the origins of the sash as well are up for debate. Any of the information in my workshops may be different from what your elders tell you. My elders say to always go by what your elders say. The sash is used today as regalia, worn around the waist or over the shoulder. Fabric woven in the same pattern is used to make toques, bags, straps, or is sewn onto skirts and shirts for traditional wear. Dancers of the jig wear a sash while performing as part of their regalia. Occasionally, the sash is awarded as an honor in recognition of an outstanding contribution or sacrifice that the receiver has made to protect or preserve the Métis people and our way of life. The Order of the Sash awards a distinctive style of sash, usually along with a certificate or plaque, during a ceremony to show esteem and respect to someone who has made a significant social, political, or cultural impact on the Métis Nation. Sashes tell a story about our ancestors, the land, lakes and rivers of our homeland, battles fought, or hard times overcome. The first paintings, drawings, and references in literature to the sash were recorded among voyageurs of the 1700s in Quebec, Ontario, and Rupert's Land, also known as Le Pays or the Prairie. Traders of the Hudson's Bay Company were given a red sash, while traders from the Northwest Company received a blue sash. In the 1800s, the Métis developed individual patterns of sashes in their own colors, to highlight their status as free men traders. Known as the Aapikayhk by the Cree, Métis are the people who own themselves, a self-made people with a deeply rooted entrepreneurial streak. Finger weaving is an art passed down from our Algonquin grandmothers. It does not belong to North America alone, with roots in Japan, as well as South and North America. European wool offered a colorful, strong thread with an even thickness. These threads were used by First Nations, early settlers, and Métis weavers to create the first sashes. The weaving techniques and patterns that we recognize today are traditional to the Algonquin people of eastern North America, including Manitoba, Ontario, and Quebec. Sashes were woven as decoration, as a crafty pastime, and to show off skills of craftsmanship. A fine sash was worn with pride, often woven with love by a wife, mother, sister, or cousin. Fine clothes were associated with status, wealth, and luxury because of the time needed to make them. Sashes were worn in older times by men, but the finger weaving techniques could be incorporated into bags, straps, and other pieces of clothing worn by both sexes. A good sash was a marvelously useful piece of clothing, used for many purposes besides the obvious one of keeping your coat closed. It could be used for a warm scarf or face wrap in cold weather, as a rope or tumpline, a bridle or saddle blanket for your horse, a washcloth, a towel, a bandage or splint. It could serve as a carrying belt to attach pouches for shot, money, or tobacco.
The Métis sash was more than a tool, more than a cultural symbol. Some might even say it was a preventative medical device.
The sash was also valued as a backrest by voyagers who must paddle a canoe many hours daily while traveling. It was also valuable as a lifting belt to support the abdomen and back while carrying heavy loads.
The sash is a tightly woven band of fabric, 1 foot wide by 12 feet long, and capable of supporting bundles weighing more than 400 pounds. The sash was an invaluable tool of the early voyageurs, who employed their sashes to provide support during heavy lifting. Each person in the voyager canoe was expected to carry their weight, literally. Each man needed to carry at least 2 bundles of fur, weighing 180 pounds, on their back during a portage. Some carried 4 bundles. That's an impressive load of more than 360 pounds. Fur bundles were hoisted in addition to lifting the canoe and packing any personal items or food that were brought along on the trip. Needless to say, the spine and abdomen of the voyager were under a lot of stress. Métis voyageurs countered this strain by winding their sash multiple times around the waist, tightly encasing the muscles and sinews of their abdomen in supportive layers of stout fabric. The function of the Métis sash can, in this way, be compared to the use of a modern weight belt. Imagine the number of injuries prevented to early voyagers through the use of the sash. For additional lifting power, the sash could also be employed as a tumpline, running across the forehead to further support a load on the back. In fact, the English term for a band used to facilitate head carrying likely comes from the Algonquin word matump or matump. It's a nod to the people from whom the voyagers acquired this method of carrying heavy loads.
In the Métis buffalo hunt, a sash was recognized as a marker. The person who made the kill would lay their sash down to claim their buffalo. The sash was worn by Métis Canadians during the resistance under Louis Riel. After the 1870s, it was not socially acceptable to be Métis in most towns and villages. Métis people could be discriminated against, shunned, or forced to live outside of white towns, in shanty towns or in the wilderness. This period of time is known as the Hard Times. Patterns tend to be regional, varying by color according to the maker's fancy. One famous pattern is l'Assomption sash, which was woven originally in Assomption, Quebec. It includes 2 sets of lightning bolt patterns, usually 8 to 12 bolts per side, with an arrowhead running down the center. The Métis began producing their own sashes in the Red River Valley. It is said that these sashes are the inspiration for the red sash that we associate with the Métis people today. The Hard Times sash was created to commemorate the struggle of the Métis people during the time that we were in isolation or hiding. Modern sashes are often created using the original meaning of the colors. For example, this sash pin was created by the Métis Nation of BC to memorialize missing and murdered Indigenous women. Finger-woven sashes took hundreds of hours of work to create, mostly done while standing, with the threads tied to a beam in the roof or nailed to the floor. Workers were paid 30 cents per day for this back-breaking labor. A top-quality sash could have up to 400 threads, all waxed and smoothed by hand, and requiring about 200 hours to weave. Finger-woven sashes were so time-consuming to make, and the weavers by this point were mostly women who would sell their work to the Hudson's Bay Company. The HBC demanded higher standards of the weavers, but paid them pennies for their hard work. When women asked for higher pay, HBC turned to the town of Coventry, England, to provide a factory-made solution. Coventry was, and still is, known for their weaving industry. A factory in Coventry created a warp-facing pattern that mimics the lightning bolt pattern of the finger-woven Assumption sash, and could be woven by machine. The HBC began buying loom-woven Coventry sashes, and the craft of finger weaving lost its value as an industry. Coventry sashes became the most commonly worn sashes between the 1850s to the early 1900s. We've lost a lot of traditional meanings and patterns of sashes over the years. These are the meanings of the colors as told to me by my elders. Red is the color associated with the Hudson's Bay Company traders, and it was adopted by the Métis. Red can signify the blood that was shed by our warriors while they fought for our rights during the Métis resistance. Blue is associated with the Northwest Company and was also adopted by the French Canadians. Blue, together with white, are the colors of the Métis flag. Blue is also significant of the lakes and rivers of the Métis homeland. It is sometimes said to represent the spirit of the Métis people. White is the color of the Holy Spirit or the Creator. Green represents the continued life and growth of the Métis people. It represents the generations going forward. Yellow often represents prosperity. Yellow is also a reminder of Le Pays, the countryside, where Métis traveled to trade, meet family, and make their living. Black is used most sparingly, a single thread included in the sash to represent the memory of hard times, such as when the Métis people were displaced from our homeland. The arrow design is the most well-known pattern in Métis sashes. It features a 4-part design, creating a series of repeating arrows down the length of the sash. Half of the arrows are warp threads and half are weft threads, making this an evenly faced pattern. While finger weaving creates a warp-facing pattern, meaning the weft threads are hidden on the inside, a loom-woven sash is evenly faced so that both the warp and the weft are visible. Today, both finger weaving and loom weaving are enjoyed as a traditional art. Handmade sashes are again seen as valuable, and they are once again appreciated for their cultural relevance and craftsmanship. The Metis Sash represents the pride, dignity, and self-governance of the Métis people. It's a piece of traditional regalia and our national costume. Wearing the sash is a declaration of your Métis heritage. It's a statement of belonging to a cultural group. For this reason, it's inappropriate for non-Métis to wear a Métis-styled sash. Wearing or selling Métis sashes by non-Métis people is frowned upon and considered by many to be an act of disrespect or appropriation. Non-Métis people can still enjoy sashes, though. You can buy a sash from a Métis craftsperson and display it in your home. You can make a sash yourself for display. You can buy a handcrafted item from a Métis artist, or use the weaving techniques to create your own items, including bags, scarves, toques, or keychains. All of these non-sash items are acceptable to use by non-Métis people. Teaching of this traditional craft is also reserved to people of Métis heritage. It's important to acknowledge the Métis people when discussing items made using our traditional techniques. Always give credit to your teachers.